Welcome to Retrospective Cinema, a podcast wherein we'll endeavor week after week to see the full filmographies of chosen directors. We'll interpret, critique, and discuss. I'm your co-host, Ryan Saylor.
And I am your other co-host, Annie Morell. And this week, we get to talk about Paul Thomas Anderson once again. This time, we're talking about Punch Drunk Love. Here's a clip.
So you tell me that's that before I beat the hell from you. I have so much strength in me, you have no idea. I have a love in my life. It makes me stronger than anything you can imagine.
So that was a clip from Punch Drunk Love. But before we get to our discussion on that, as we are completionists here, we will be discussing a heck of a lot that Paul Thomas Anderson did in between Punch Drunk Love and Magnolia. What would you like to start with?
Yeah, so usually we go in order. We're kind of going to jump around a bit because he made a lot of things in between these, and a couple of them can kind of be thrown together. So I think just getting out of the way a couple so that we don't spend this whole episode diving into all of the shorts and things. There's John Bryan's Here We Go music video, the 12 Scopatones video, and Blossoms in Blood are all repurposed shots, alternate takes, deleted scenes from Punch Drunk Love used to make different things. Blossoms in Blood is the most fully thought out, I think. It's a 12-minute short that kind of portrays Barry a little differently with the scene selection. I thought that was interesting. Besides that, other things that we don't really need to go too into. Ball Chewer, did you track that one down?
Excuse me? No.
So, yeah, Paul Thomas Anderson and Adam Sandler were hanging out around the time inherently, and PTA made a few videos for the now defunct AdamSandler.com. If I typed it in, I was curious. It now goes just to Adam Sandler's Facebook page, which I was pretty disappointed, honestly, as a big proponent of old internet. But Ball Chewer was essentially, it's Luis Guzman playing chess with Adam Sandler's dog Meatball, and Luis Guzman checkmates the dog, and the dog turns to poop on the board, and that's the whole 40-second short.
Incredible.
And I've logged it on Letterboxd. There you go. I think that covers the stuff that we can kind of just gloss over. Okay, so I do want to briefly talk about Fanatic. PTA made a skit, a mockumentary style skit for SNL called Fanatic. The main problem with it, in discussing it now, is simply that a lot of it hinges on Anna Nicole Smith's mental health. Unfortunately, a few years later, she did die by accidental overdose. So I feel like I just don't have the ability to navigate the comedy of that skit while being respectful to that person. So I proposed to Annie prior to this that we're just kind of going to skip it. And I think that's fine. We do have some new Fiona Apple videos. We have Limp and Paper Bag. We can talk about both of those. Limp first, maybe. It has a lot of images of putting self together, is what I wrote. And it has great editing to the rhythmic beat.
Yeah, the kind of stop motion effect near the end when there's a drum solo in the song, where every beat of the drum is a frame, kind of played in faux stop motion from various scenes throughout the rest of the music video. Yeah, I think the only other thing that I have to say, I think it's interesting that this one and Paper Bag, the other Fiona Apple that we're about to talk about, both have like the same kind of color palette, like heavy contrast, saturation look that Punch Drunk Love has. So clearly he was enjoying that style at this time. And I mean, I love it.
I actually got to watch the Cannes press conference for Punch Drunk Love ahead of us talking about this, mostly because I love Punch Drunk Love and can't get enough of it. And one of the interviewers asked about specifically the fantastical elements of the film, and I think that comes through in the color selection. And yeah, PTA was just kind of like, yep, that's what making a movie is to me right now. And it's like, okay, yeah, I can see that.
Lots of red, blues, and purples with yellow accents. Yeah, I'm not mad at it. It's gorgeous. Yeah, and then do you want to move on to Paper Bag?
So this one kind of has one bit going on the whole time related to a lyric.
Mm-hmm. He was just a little boy is the lyric.
Yes, exactly. Thank you. So all of the men in this video are played by children. So it's not as simple as to say, if you haven't seen the video, it's not that these characters are boys. They're clearly meant to be adult men, but they're all played by boys, which is it's clever. It's fun. Yeah. I liked this video.
Yeah, and they're in like little business suits. Someone's a chef. It's like they're in this kind of hotel's cafe area is how I interpreted the set. And to me, kind of like both hotel staff and maybe just like clients of the hotel that they're kind of dressed as. And they're all incredible little dancers too.
They are. Yeah, there's that last shot where the one boy does a spin, and then she does a spin, and then he does a spin, and she does, and it's honestly pretty magical. This was a good video.
Yeah, this was probably, of all of the shorts we're talking about, my favorite. I think there's a tracking shot because there's this awesome like cafe counter that's super long in the space that they're filming, and all the little boys are like on the counter, and it just kind of tracks them down. It was just, yeah, I enjoyed this one. I thought it was visually very captivating, and I enjoyed the little bit, not sure what it means, but when ropes kind of come from the ceiling, and a few of the boys like climb up the ropes from their seats at the cafe counter.
Continuing to push us along simply due to how much is in this pre-section. I know you said you didn't catch up with this before we started filming. I watched the pilot for the John Bryan show.
Yes, please tell me about it.
So I did go to college for music, and we talked about in college that the most successful musician was never going to be the best one, or the second best one, or the third, or, N+1. It's always going to be whichever one was closest to the top at being great, but also could market themselves. And I thought about that a lot while I watched this 40-minute completely unmarketable pilot that in no way had any chance of getting picked up, but is absolutely brilliant. And if you're into music, yeah, I'd hunt this thing down. The video on YouTube has almost 1 million views, and I assume it's all Elliott Smith fans because that was the featured guest on this first episode. The idea was to have kind of a new take on the musical variety show. And so John Bryan, the composer of Punch Drunk Love and collaborator of Paul Thomas Anderson, which is how PTA ended up here, I assume, would have a guest each week. He and they would play lots of songs together, his songs, the guest songs, they could cover other songs, and then in between they'd maybe banter a bit, and that was the show. And so it's very laid back, very casual. If you're not interested in these people, 45 minutes is a long time, but the music was so good. I genuinely would recommend this, not as a PTA completion project, but yeah, if you're into Elliott Smith's music or just singer-songwriter stuff, this was a pretty great 40 minutes. I had a lovely time.
Okay, well, I might check it out after this then. I do love Elliott Smith, so.
Last couple things, we have the Mattress Man commercial, which is 1 minute long and a masterpiece.
Oh, yeah. A single shot of just Philip Seymour Hoffman as his character in Punch Drunk Love as he films a commercial for his store, The Mattress Man.
Yeah, he saunters on up. He's fake playing guitar. He's meant to be, like cool guy. It's for a local commercial, but he jumps onto a pile of mattresses for his stunt, and then I assume the commercial would cut there, but instead we see him bounce off the mattresses and fall a lot of feet, like 12 feet to the
mattresses
ground.
That are in a truck bed, yeah, to the asphalt.
Yeah, it just thuds. It's very funny. It's beautiful if you've seen Punch Drunk Love to see this character, in his quote unquote natural environment. And also, I mean, we've talked about this both previous leaks, but Philip Seymour Hoffman, just his biggest skill as an actor perhaps was that he could instantly embody a character from the moment you see him. And as fun as the short is, it is exemplary of that skill, because he just so effortlessly is this character the second you see him, and really doesn't have that many lines, but you know this man, and yeah, very impressive.
Yeah, and even the little, what I assume was improvised dialogue after he falls, and his kind of crew guys are coming up like, "You okay?" Like, yeah, it's he is that character. Even I think it's a real testament to his talent, because someone as recognizable as Philip Seymour Hoffman could easily just fall into the trap of like, oh, well, that's we know who that is now. And it just doesn't ever happen for me. So very cool.
Very lastly, somehow we've ended up with Couch. This is actually I've seen Couch before. This was a rewatch for me. What did you think of it?
I did know that because I saw that you logged it on your Letterboxd. So this is another collaboration between Paul Thomas Anderson and Adam Sandler, and to me it's about 90% Adam Sandler and 10% PTA, and so it wasn't my vibe. It's very much a little slapstick physical comedy bit with lots of fake farting sounds.
Yeah, so
did you like it?
It reached a positive score for me. I teach junior high, and I do slowly notice that my humor is becoming more juvenile. So maybe that's what happened. But last time I saw this, it was, so beneath me, and this time I actually laughed, once or twice. But essentially, a man comes into a furniture shop, and I mean, this must happen to him regularly, because the way he's feeling up this couch, like, he's expecting something to happen, and the viewer's not sure what. But the second this man sits down, the couch like eats him, for lack of better phrasing, and he's like screaming and farting, and it's the lowest tier of comedy, but I was having fun with it. And so then he gets up, goes to the second like a recliner, and he's like hoping that this one will go better, and it does, and then it's fine, and then his legs break and he farts again. I don't know, it's
it's silly.
If listening to me talk about this made you chuckle at all, check it out. Otherwise, if listening to me talk about this made you confused, maybe stay away.
We've talked about it for about as long as the thing is, so it's not a big time investment if you end up hating it. On to the feature film, on to Punch Drunk Love, which this was once again, shockingly, my first ever watch of this movie.
Now this one, I feel like you have no excuse. I mean, this thing
I really
is
don't.
90 minutes. Like, everything else had been long, but I mean, this thing, I have seen it so many times, and I think a lot of that comes down to that it absolutely is an art film, but it is so accessible, and it's pretty short, and I've just shown it time and time again. And tell me about it. What'd you think?
Oh, I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Visually, it is just stunning as a film. Like, the way that PTA romanticizes the LA area in his films in general, I think is pretty impressive, but especially in this movie. I mean, it's such a romantic lens to look at it with all these just rich blues and purples and reds and these harsh shadows. It's just like delicious color palette, and it's such a quirky love story rom-com, like, really. It's awesome. I mean, we'll get it at the end of the episode, but I really loved it.
So Paul Thomas Anderson, while working on Magnolia, which, as you can imagine, was quite an endeavor to make, would come home and unwind by watching Adam Sandler comedies, of which he is a massive fan. And you can hear him talk about this if you look up like any interview about the fact. Like, it's time and time again he's said how much he loves these films, and especially Big Daddy. That one keeps coming up. And so while finishing Magnolia, he just decided a couple things. He hadn't really come up with a script yet or anything, as far as I could tell in my research. He had read an article about this man that got a bunch of frequent flyer miles due to a promotional glitch, but he had wanted to make a Adam Sandler movie, and he wanted to make a romantic comedy, and those were the things he knew when he approached Adam Sandler. And they became good friends. They hit it off and made this thing. And it does represent, even if Adam Sandler has mostly stayed away from more serious work. I mean, this is still very fun, but you know what I mean? This does represent a turning point in his career because it really was the first time. And you can pull up interviews from the time where people were relatively harsh saying, this film would be a mess, misguided just when it was announced that this was happening. But I think the film speaks for itself. I think he proved all the haters wrong. And I think Adam Sandler proved to be a brilliant actor, which luckily we have seen him do some great material since.
I even read something where I think during the kind of interview circuit for Magnolia, at some point someone asked him, give us a couple actors, or like, who are you most wanting to work with next after this movie? And he said Daniel Day-Lewis and Adam Sandler, and it got like a laugh in the interview. But what does he end up doing after this? Punch Drunk Love and There Will Be Blood. And yeah, I see why. I think it's brilliant to at that point in time see what this kind of actor who's only doing comedy, only doing just the goofiest stuff, to have him in this. It was a casting I couldn't have probably envisioned as good if I had been sentient at that point in time.
At the Cannes press conference, I think the first question, it might be the second, but it's clearly one that was on everyone's mind. Someone asks Paul Thomas Anderson, what did you see in Adam Sandler? What made you want to cast him in this role? And his answers were so simple and beautiful. He says, I liked his face. I liked his smile. He has funny ears. And I just thought that was so interesting that, just watching these films and having that eye to see like, okay, I bet I can work with this man, and I bet I can create something truly great. So yeah, it was just a great choice. I think it also, and I don't know if this was intentional or not, but it repurposes almost the traditional comedy and playfulness and purity that we kind of associate with 90s Adam Sandler as this facade that's hiding someone dealing with a lot of stuff. And I think that the casting really brings a lot to this role because it makes you consider things that you might not otherwise.
Definitely. And yeah, it kind of is this 3-dimensional version of that kind of character. Like, what is behind someone who acts that madcap? I like that as an exploration. I didn't really think of it that way. But God, and I just love how I think Paul Thomas Anderson is like one of the best writers at like so unexpectedly introducing, whether it's like character information or a plot point, like it's always this like left turn I wasn't expecting. And, in the case of this movie, it kind of starts with, that opening shot of him in like a windowless room, harsh lighting, and he's calling the food company that is doing the promotion, the airline. I don't even remember which airline. But yeah, and you don't really, I did have to go back and check because I kind of didn't even quite understand yet what was happening during that phone call. But of course, it's this great little like one-sided bit. And then he goes out into this alleyway outside of his business, and this horrible car accident happened. This car flips over, and then this van pulls up and leaves like a tiny piano on the street. And like, wow, that was crazy. What an odd happening. Another kind of act of God feel for me.
Yeah, I interpret, because there are some fantastical elements to this film that is certainly one of them. This is how this all starts. But even the color-coded grocery store, or the labyrinth that is his new girlfriend's apartment complex, like it is a fantastical film. I think a lot of those scenes, though, what it all builds together is to almost portray visually what it's like to feel extreme anxiety. I don't know that there even like was this truck really flipping in an alley, or that there really is this maze of a apartment complex as bad as it is. I think it's the film just visually demonstrates so well that feeling. I think it builds to that.
Yeah, well, and I think, what we see to support your point about like maybe the truck thing didn't even really happen. Obviously the piano part did, but maybe it was just there.
Sure.
People leave stuff on the side of the street. That's not fantastical.
Pump organ, having my...
I know it's a pump organ, but a lot of people call it a piano throughout a lot of the movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they finally called it a harmonium, which is also true, but yeah, I feel like pump organ's probably what people actually know it as.
But yeah, the fact that we don't see any fallout from, what looks to be a horrific accident. There's not any mention of it when like Lena brings her car to the mechanic that is next door to Barry's store, Barry's plunger store. And I think again, he establishes so many things so well there are several characters who ask him, throughout the film, like, why are you wearing a suit? But, the first time that it happens to me, I'm like, okay, so this is new for him. This is the first day of change for Barry. And what does that mean? And where's that going to take him? So I loved that bit. And I love the suit. I love that he's just always in the suit, but changing his little ties a couple times.
My favorite moment with the suit is actually when he comes in to work the second day. Did you catch that his second in command, Luis Guzman's character, is now wearing a suit?
Oh my gosh, I didn't, but that's amazing.
That's so good. And he actually on like day 3 or whatever is no longer wearing a suit, so I think he tries it and decides it's not for him. But yeah, he's like, okay, well, let's see what this is about.
Oh, we're classing up the business. Just wanted to propose a little Severance fan theory. So sorry, I feel like, have you watched Severance?
I have not. Someday I'll get Apple TV Plus, but I don't know. I haven't.
It's fine. Yeah, and I'm not going to say anything that spoils the show really in any way, but I do wonder if there are like a couple of things within Severance that are referencing this movie now, because Egan is like a very important name in the context of the show, and there's like really awesome hallway kind of running and traversing sequences of these kind of never-ending hallways within that show. And you referenced that earlier in Barry's new girlfriend's apartment. So just wanted to point that out. I don't know. Maybe, probably not.
No, I feel you. I mean, this film is so influential. I mean, not that this was the first film to ever use intentional lens flares or anything like that. I'm not saying that, but we were still 6 years away from like the Star Trek 2009 J.J. Abrams stuff where that became kind of a meme, and this film's using exactly what I'd be willing to bet that J.J. Abrams saw this and said, that's the visual style I want for my films. Like it's pretty 1-to-1.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It definitely, I think he's doing it better here.
Oh yeah, that's fair.
Sorry, JJ.
Although I do love Star Trek 2009. I think that is probably the highlight of J.J. Abrams' career.
Yeah, and I love that he has, again, with like the fantastical elements, 7 sisters.
Yes. Yep. And they actually were all sisters. PTA found a group of 7 real life sisters and said, want to be in a movie? And they're all great. They handle their scenes incredibly.
Oh, yeah. Well, the kind of when we finally really get to meet them after the phone calls that they make to his warehouse, there's this bit that they all, like, as he's entering the house of one of the sisters, they're telling this story that's like, remember when we used to call Barry gay boy? And they just kind of keep saying it. And it's such a like politically incorrect bit, but it encapsulates like who his sisters are so well.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's also like not that Barry ever really commits to anything, but when they ask like you're not gay, are you? He says like, I don't know. Like, so I think it's not just that it's politically incorrect. It's probably cruel for this boy growing up that's very unsure of himself and like potentially could have more than just heteronormative tendencies and is seeing all that. So the other thing that scene does really well is that he's coming in the door and they're talking about this, and based on any other movie that the viewer has seen in their life, you assume this conversation's gonna stop the second Barry enters the room for real, because they're like kind of talking behind his back, they're kind of making fun of him, like all that kind of stuff. And then when he comes in, it just keeps going. And then they involve him in the conversation where they're making fun of him. So I think that really sets their relationship up well as well.
Yeah, definitely. They suck.
Yeah,
they're verbally abusive to him on the phone before this, and so you see this really like beaten down guy who seems very very unsure of himself and has a lot of emotions inside that he has a hard time expressing in the moment, and then it kind of builds up into these spurts of extreme violence and destruction.
Yeah. So we get a number of them. We get him smashing the windows at his sister's house. We get the bathroom scene later on. He punches the map in his office at one point. But the character is so fascinating because he is so sweet and kind. Well, I guess, and then eventually there's violence toward other people, but that one's more justified. We'll get to the film's climax. But it's holding in this person that really doesn't know how to deal with these clearly massive emotions he's feeling, and Adam Sandler does such a good job with that. Love it.
Again, a perfect casting, because he does have the chops to like get kind of scary angry. It's often played for comedy in a lot of his movies prior to this, but like, he's a scary guy when he's angry, and his abilities in physical comedy kind of translate into those kind of the physical manifestation of the violence, but not in a comedic way, of course.
Sure. The one other thing about his sisters that I do think is worth pointing out before we move on from them is that they, in their way, they do care about him. Like, they don't know how to love him. His main, for lack of better phrasing, his main sister, at least the one with the biggest part in the film, and that one's actually played by a professional actress, so I guess PTA must have found 6 real sisters, correcting myself earlier. Anyway, she is going behind his back, is doing things he doesn't want to do, but ultimately she wants him to find love. She's setting her friend up with him, so I mean, clearly she likes him enough to do that, and she does check in with him once he's trying to go to therapy and such. The way she goes about it all is messy and unhelpful to Barry, but it is worth noting that she does clearly
because she is trying pretty hard. I will push back on the idea that she even I think she might not be the main like reason why she is doing so much matchmaking, because Lena has basically been stalking this man ever since she saw his photo on her coworker's desk. And Lena is so persistent that I can really see it being a situation where she just keeps on bugging the sister until she kind of goes, no,
that's fair. But I can just, there's a line, it's when they're just talking over the phone, and I don't know the sister's name, but she says like, oh, he's weird anyway, I don't know if you'd want to date him. And Lena says like, oh yeah, he is kind of weird. And she's like, well, you don't have to think he's weird. Like, I think he's weird, but that's like my thing, like, so it's like the second someone external from the family insults him, so to speak, even though Lena doesn't actually mean it, like, she's on the defensive. So I think, and I think even if this was from Lena, I think it would be very easy to be like, oh no, I refuse to introduce you to my brother, like, whatever. But so I think there is an element of care.
Oh, I forgot about that little scene, but you're so right. And it's that kind of mentality that I think some families have, where it's like, I'm allowed to rag on my insert relation here, but you keep it in the family, So I do like the dimension within that. They're not just like genuinely terrible, because then why would he even like feel the need to go to dinner with them if they're just terrible all the time? I want to briefly talk about, there's an awesome kind of transition where, so Barry is on the hunt for coupons for this food for flight miles scheme that he's trying to take advantage of. And he's clipping coupons, and then he like lays the coupon down or something on the table. And then right behind it is this call girl ad. This is after at this dinner, he's talked to one of his sister's husbands, who is a dentist, but, doctor adjacent, about trying to find a therapist, someone to talk to. And so I just wanted to point out, I loved that little kind of reveal of like, oh, here's this call girl ad, and that's where it's going to go next.
Because you can, I mean, if you're just looking at a plot synopsis of the film, it's like, well, how would this character that's so shy and unsure of himself like call this ad and give his credit card info and all that. So like you get this visual moment that answers that, where you see the gears turning right when it happens, and like why it seems like a good idea in that moment, and how it's a spur of the moment thing. And it does a lot of work despite being, you know, purely visual and only a few seconds long.
Yeah, and also just poor guy.
Oh yeah, it's
he
horrible.
Really is trying to go to therapy, and I mean, the dentist husband ultimately rats him out, which I also like. Wow.
Yeah, he even checks like, oh, we have confidentiality, right? And I thought you were saying poor Barry though on the fact that this phone and sex hotline goes so south.
Sure, yeah. I mean, I have a little less sympathy for him, because I would never in a million years give my social security number.
Okay, well, actually, I don't think he does. I think he makes one up for that, because you actually, again, this is all visual. There's no audible anything that points to this, but he has much more pause, as if he's like thinking about the numbers, whereas when he read compared to when he read his credit card. So I actually thought that he took a precaution and made up a number there.
I like that. Well, and it does explain, because I was thinking the whole time, I was like, well, it doesn't matter if you cancel your credit card, they can just steal your identity now. Right. Yeah, I'm assuming they tried that. Okay, good catch. Yeah, because he knows his credit card number, and that makes sense, right? They gotta get paid, and he is trying in every way he can to not be like looped into a scam. He's very he's careful, but not careful enough.
Yeah, well, it's just so sad, because I mean, this guy's calling, like, this is clearly the first time he's doing it. Like, it's not that he's, you know, normally feeling this way, but he's feeling especially lonely, especially down on himself because of all the prior scenes. And yeah, spur of the moment decides to call and talk to him. And it doesn't even seem like he really wants to have phone sex, because she begins, you know, asking questions once they do get there that are meant to initiate that. And he's like, at one point she asks, you know, like, are your pants off? And he's like, nope. Like, it's clear that he really wanted someone non-judgmental to talk to. And yeah, ends up just thrown into this horrible circumstance that will drive the plot the rest of the movie.
He's the worst improv partner in the world to this woman. Just like lots of no's. Yeah, Georgia is her fake name. She's a Georgia peach.
Yeah, I mean, that I'm glad that line is delivered as if it is just as bad as it is, because
I was going to ask you, does he actually have phone sex with her at the end? It's kind of implied that he's about to.
It is implied that based on their conversation the next day, I think he does go through with it. But I guess my point was simply that it doesn't seem like that's even why he called. Like, he's just craving some level of connection.
Well, and I am like, girl, you're also being a bad improv partner, because he is telling you he doesn't want this. Like, just if he just wants to talk, I don't know. I'd be happy. I'm sure that's like not uncommon in the profession of just people who are lonely and just want like any sort of contact. But yeah, I did like, so he's like, okay, have her call me Jack. But he answers the phone when he's like picking up for Georgia. This is back.
Yes.
So good. When that happened, I wrote down PTA found a new dumb boy.
There you go. Yeah. Where's John C. Reilly on this John C. Reilly podcast?
Oh, I did. I know. I did read if we want to loop him in, I did read a little fact, because he was supposed to be in this movie. He was supposed to be one of the brothers, which we will get to, the Mattress Man brothers. And he read the script and he was like, this is going to be so distracting. Like these are nothing characters.
No, we need him.
I'm really bummed that he did that, but well, our hero.
Yeah, if you're feeling very out of the loop, I think there's chapters on our Magnolia episode, and one of them probably points to John C. Reilly, because we at this point have realized just how much we've seen and loved that man.
Yeah, I'm a big fan now, genuinely. I don't know if I was before, but yeah. So he answers this is back. So funny. She does call him Barry at one point, which I think he gave his name initially, so it's not really that much of a stretch to think that she just knows his name. But it is, I did clock that. And like, I think especially during this phone call, and then some conversations that he has with, you know, his sisters and Lena a little later in the film, like things just kind of happen to him. He's like such a passive character. He answers questions in these conversations. I don't know a lot. And I think, you know, not to get too into what I think the film is at this point, but I think to me it's this story of like what happens when you do take agency within your life, when you don't just let things happen to you.
No, I 100%.
Yay, that's good. We're not going to fight again on this episode.
Well, I you know, I guess that setting this episode up to be less interesting then, based on some of the feedback we've gotten. But yeah, this is a character that is trying to get a hold of his life, and he's trying in all these different ways. He wants the frequent flyer miles so that he can go anywhere in the world, even if he doesn't dream of going on vacation as it comes up. He just wants like the option to, and the ability to choose, right? And he wants enough money to diversify, and anyway, and he wants to be able to love this woman eventually, that he is enamored with, or, you know, the titular punch drunk in love with, which was a phrase that I didn't know, but apparently it's an American phrase. So I was like, my people. Anyway, had you heard punch drunk outside of this title?
No. What?
Yeah, so it means exactly what it sounds like. It's just it's when you're drunk and feeling feeling punchy is actually what PTA said in an interview. So just where you're getting more aggressive due to being drunk. So then the title, you would think that would be like a negative, but it's like punch drunk love, you know? So it's feeling aggressive in a way that's like, I'm going to fight for this love, which is absolutely what he does in the film.
Yeah. Oh, I like that. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I will say, you know, it takes him long enough to realize that Lena is into him. And he unintentionally, when she is talking to him in his warehouse at one point, he's just like accidentally negging her for this whole conversation while she's trying to like get him to go out with her, basically. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then they have dinner together, and I did think there were times where I felt that Barry was a little bit autistic coded, especially the dinner scene. She's asking her, or she's asking these questions. He's giving these long answers, but he's not making eye contact with her at any point. He's looking kind of down at his plate. And maybe, you know, you could also say that's just nervousness, but yeah, I don't know. Did you see that?
I didn't grab onto that. I can see what you're saying. Yeah, I think that's a fine reading. I think for me, he's just, you know, very emotional and very small feeling feels very small until he finally takes control of his life. So I thought it was just that. But yeah, I think you could easily read the whole film that way, now that you pointed out.
Yeah, and I also wanted to ask you, why does this woman have such a fetish for Barry? Is he just like the male version of the quirky girl?
Is he a manic pixie dream boy? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
I've never thought about it, I guess. They just always are so perfect together. For modern phrasing, maybe he matches her freak. We get that scene where they're on top of each other in bed and they say lots of things that might not fly in most couples, and they both love it. I think at one point he says that he wants to smash her face with a sledgehammer.
Yeah, she's into it.
And she's like, well, I want to scoop out your eyeballs and eat them. Mm-hmm. And someone out there is listening to this, having not seen the movie, and they're like, what? So I think it's just that she feels, you know, going off what I feel like is maybe PTA's outlook on the world based on the last couple films. Maybe there is just this supernatural element where she just feels that this is the man for her, and inadvertently she's right.
Yeah, because pretty much anything he does, except for when he abandons her at the hospital near the end, is charming to her. Mm-hmm. It's all plus. And she's even near the beginning of the film, kind of in an out of focus part of a shot of him in the grocery store. She's like following him in the grocery store.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah.
I missed that. There you go.
Yeah, there's this like woman in this little red outfit, and it's the one she was wearing at the car dealership.
Very interesting. There you go.
Yeah, so she's I think there is this question of fate in this film as well. And I'm not sure with how it's like she is grabbing onto her own fate. She's making sure that it's fate. She's following him in the grocery store. She's taking in her car next to his business. She's like trying to get at him through his sister. She is trying to control her destiny. And I don't think it's nefarious. I
right.
had
Yeah, the way you were saying it just now, I was like, oh, maybe that's not great. You know?
Well, I do, I'm not sure. I think it's a very accurate depiction of like what like true like infatuation and then like infatuation that turns into love is. I think I don't think the movie necessarily has an opinion as to whether or not, or shows an opinion as to whether or not that it's good or
and
not.
because things are so heightened, I think it gets away with not having an opinion inherently.
Yeah, if you think of it as like, turned up all the way to 11 and you like turn down her character, then yeah, it probably just is like, oh, she's really interested in him. And he's just kind of a little out of touch, not clued in for a bit, and then very much clued in.
On that part of the film, the fact that it is turned up to 11, like you said, one thing that I heard in an interview that I thought was really interesting that I definitely wanted to bring up here is that PTA considered this something of a musical. It's certainly not in the way that we think of musicals, and I don't think I'd give it that genre tag, though there is a massive important song, but it's not sung by the characters. And at one point we do get Barry dancing, so I guess we get that check mark. But I think what does point it to that, besides its extreme heightened reality, is the score that often interacts with the things going on in the film. And so I both wanted to point out that the film is considered that way because I think it's very interesting. And then to talk about the score that is easily my favorite yet in this run of pretty good scores. This very industrial score that yes, sometimes is heightened or complemented by sounds going on in the real world, like a truck driving by at one point is on beat, or even when Barry finds the pump organ, he plays tones that line up with the score going on. Yeah, I want to make sure we talked about it because it's such an interesting score. I love all of the wiping noises and the crashing noises and all of the warehouse noises, I guess, which makes sense with the film.
It's all like kind of immersed into itself in a really cool way, and it heavily features the harmonium. Mm-hmm. The score does, so that's cool as well. Yeah. Oh man, it feels in the vein to me of like, and I wouldn't be surprised if like La La Land was inspired by this movie, because it does have that like romanticization of LA and this kind of love story. And yeah, man, I really liked this movie.
Yeah. Before we get too off the technical side, since I brought it back up, tell me about the sound design. Because it's so good. All of the crashing sound effects. I mean, I guess the most noticeable moment is when he goes into the bathroom and they've turned the gain up on every mic to like as high as possible so that nothing sounds real and it's all...
Yeah, well, it's the same. It's all exaggerated, just like the rest. It's this fantastical kind of... larger than life soundscape, and yeah, everything is again quite literally turned up to 11.
They've turned that knob in that scene.
Yeah, in a way that again feels so like immersive to me. It's just this, especially his bursts of anger, or I think portraying that through the sound is so effective. Yeah, I don't know. I think maybe because I watched this on a shitty Airbnb TV, I didn't get, instead of my beautiful soundbar, I didn't get quite as much of it.
Well, let me point out a couple moments then, if you for your rewatch, but it must happen because you see this film and need to see it again. That first car crash is a genuine jump scare. Like, it is so loud and so scary in the mix. I know it's coming and it just doesn't matter. I am a jumpy person, for the record, but yeah, every time just flying out of my seat. And then I guess this is in line with the score, but when the car, I guess another car crash, but when they're spinning, when he's looking at her as the car spins before it hits the pole, and there's the like ticking that's like forward in the mix, and you can hear the wheels screeching below, but just like it's just, there's so many small moments where they perfected the soundscape. It's a really cool film. for that element. I mean, every element, but that's one that it seems like they especially honed in on.
We've danced around it a bit, but Philip Seymour Hoffman shows up fairly late into the movie because the call girl, Georgia, that he converses with is now blackmailing him, and it kind of escalates throughout. Again, another angry woman calls him wherever he is. They're able to find him wherever he is. A little bit fantastical given the time period, but we find out that
I don't think so. Not to cut you off, I don't think so, because they know he's Barry Egan and they know he's a small business owner and they know his home address. So just kind of you could hunt down the warehouse pretty easily with that information with early Google or even late Yellow Pages.
Yeah, I get. And like Lena's apartment. I think there's another location.
Well, I assume they just followed him there. It was like how I got that one.
Yeah, so we finally get to see Philip Seymour Hoffman and this mattress store that is a front ? For a call girl service that is made up of one call girl, two call girls, like two total, and then these brothers of Georgia. Specifically I want to point out one that Philip Seymour Hoffman has a mattress store as his front in this, which I, having not seen this, did not realize that probably that's why, or it's like a little bit of a nod in Licorice Pizza, jumping way ahead, that his son's character has like a mattress business.
Oh, you're so right. Oh, that's so good.
Yeah, I thought that was cool. But also, one of my favorite scenes is when Hoffman and Adam Sandler are on the phone yelling, having this yelling contest with each other. And again, it's this like Philip Seymour Hoffman in any scene, just like match it. He never outshines anyone. He is amazing and he lifts his scene partner, if they're not already there, to his level. And like, oh my God, just it's a brilliant comedic bit. And it's also, ramping us up for the climax ultimately.
Yeah.
Where, Adam Sandler literally clutching the phone after this phone call the entire time, the entire journey to Utah?
Yeah,
Is
Provo,
that where they
Utah.
are? Yeah, Provo, Utah. And going into the Mattress Man store. And then we get this brilliant scene between them in person. Where they have this yelling back and forth that culminates in, "That's that, Mattress Man."
It calms down a bit. And he finally decides that he sized him up as a good, like a real person, a good person. I don't know how quite to describe it, but it goes from like, oh, you're a pervert, oh, like you're lesser than me, all that kind of stuff. He says like you drove out here to tell me that's that? Like, yes. Like, well, then that's that. And like, he does have that little moment afterwards, that stinger that is perfect, where he runs out and then tries to reassert his dominance and fails.
Get out of here, pervert. He's like, what?
Didn't I tell you? That's that. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, biggest laugh of the film for me. That's that. Yep, just kidding.
That sequence is just incredible. We skipped, I think, the most satisfying hit in cinematic history, when Barry gets this crowbar and just slaps one of his pursuers across the face.
Oh yeah, so this blackmailing scheme escalates to the point where these three brothers are sent to Sherman Oaks to confront Barry, and they end up hitting him and Lena in Barry's car. Yeah, you referenced the spinning earlier. And then, we get to see this man's mood swings and violent tendencies really show up for him in this moment. Beats the shit out of these brothers. Well,
and it's
two of them.
Film in a way is a question of masculinity, whether it's male anger or male expression of loneliness, like that kind of stuff. Even if it wasn't quite on the cultural zeitgeist yet, I actually think this film was prescient of conversation in that way. Anyway, and it's channeling what has been in his life a negative anger into a beautiful protective anger. And it's from that lens, it's where he's suddenly fulfilling his duties instead of falling short. It's great.
Yeah, and then that of course leads her to need to go to the emergency room. And that is when, from there, he does his phone walk all the way to Utah or whatever you think happened.
I picture him just holding it and the steering wheel in his hand and just being unable to let go because he's so mad.
Yeah, and then of course, Lena's left wondering, well, what happened?
Right.
Why did he abandon me? Oh, I want to jump back very quickly before I talk about their kind of reconciliation scene. I think, we've talked about how effective the comedy is in this movie, and a little bit about the romance. And oh my goodness, I think there are such sweet, genuine moments, some really authentic moments of love between these two characters. Specifically, I want to talk about the first time that they kiss, where he initially leaves her apartment and then she calls down to him. You think it's going to be Georgia tracking him down again, perhaps. But it ends up being Lena saying that, I wish we would have kissed. And he runs up through her endless hallways to get to kiss her.
It's so sweet. It's so sweet. And I actually, I stumbled upon that as well. Adam Sandler. Actually, this might have been the Cannes press conference. Anyway, talking about that this was the only time, at least up till then, that his girlfriend wasn't mad seeing him kiss a woman on screen. She'd usually whenever he had a scene like that, she'd probably playfully be like, and then when she saw that scene, she's just like, because it's so sweet.
Mm-hmm. And then we have that same kind of sweet and joyful moment echoed later on when he does go to Hawaii to see her in that beautiful, it's the poster that you mainly see for the movie, beautiful silhouette of the two of them embracing and kissing when he meets up with her in Hawaii. So I just think I read somewhere that PTA calls this an art house Adam Sandler film, and I do, it's an art house rom-com for sure.
Yeah.
So beautiful. And then we get to see their reconciliation after he kind of abandons her, and he has this great little monologue where he keeps repeating it. If you give me, because he has found out at this point that it's going to take about 6 to 8 weeks for the Miles deal to be processed. So he keeps repeating, if you give me 6 to 8 weeks, I can follow you wherever. I never want to be apart from you again. And it's so, it's keeping in tone with the movie, being a little fantastical, a little ridiculous, but it's such a sweet, genuine moment. I just love it.
Do you recommend the film?
No, I don't. Absolutely 100%. It's only 90 minutes. This is the easiest one to watch of all of them. Just delightful, beautiful. Yeah. Do you recommend it?
Yeah, absolutely. I've seen this thing, I don't even know, a lot of times. I know this film inside out, or I thought, and then you pointed out something I never caught, so that's very exciting. Yeah, I love the way it shows loneliness. I love the way it shows love. I think it's so satisfying, and the acting's incredible, and it's just fun and hilarious and intense, and it's great. It's 90 minutes. You've seen 2/3 of the film if you, instead of this podcast, if you started it right then. Although maybe you're driving and then it'd be hard to watch and all the things. But check out Punch Drunk Love.
Yeah, when you get home from this drive you're on, put it in. It is not really streaming anywhere right now except for Pluto, which I guess means it's streaming free for everyone. So go watch it. My goodness.
I think it's joining the Criterion Channel in 14 days. I think I read that, but I can't find it this second, and I'm, we're actively recording. But maybe I'll include this, maybe I won't. Also, Criterion has put out a beautiful Blu-ray for this film. Would recommend if you're into physical media.
Yay.
No, we're not sponsored, but we wish we were.
Hey, Blu-ray and or Criterion.
Hey, Blu-ray. Just all of it? Is that Sony?
I mean, Blu-ray is a company, is it not?
I think Sony owns the Blu-ray format. There you go. We're sponsored by DVDs. Get them. Anyway, if you're feeling lonely, you can leave us some feedback. We have an email, retrospectivecinemapodcast@gmail.com. You can comment on Spotify. You can comment on YouTube. You can find me on Letterboxd at Ryan Loves Film.
And I'm there at Annie Morell. We also have a TikTok and an Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
Both handles are retro_sin. That is CIN.
Yeah.
And I am very excited for next week because we're back to a movie I have seen. Next week's film up for discussion will be There Will Be Blood. So
Yeah.
I'm pumped to revisit it because I was a teenager when I watched this last.
I'm a little intimidated. It's one of, I mean, it's considered, you know, one of the greatest films of all time, and I, spoiler alert, would agree. So yeah, it's just, you know,
spoiler podcast. We never said it this time. Well, I hope if you haven't seen Punch Drunk Love that you watch it after listening to this, you freaks. And if you do, and you know, with whatever you watch, happy watching.
Oh, came quick. I didn't even have a chance.
Oh, did you want? You can.
No, you're good. No.
Do you want to say it in unison?
This one's all you. No, you have it. You have it.
I grabbed that chance.